So it is 12:01. I'll take this moment to introduce myself, and then Ashley can introduce herself when we switch on over the slides. My name is Jessica Keegan. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm coming at you from the Office of Economic Empowerment, and I'll tell you a little bit more about what that means. But we're super excited today to give you a conversation on financial stress, as we know that is a huge conversation topic to a lot of people. As we were just discussing, who can say they're not stressed about finances right now? So I'll go through some just housekeeping here, some disclosures, and then we'll go into the conversation and definitely have time at the end for question and answer. So the Office of Economic Empowerment, we are a department within the Massachusetts Treasurer's Office. So our main goals are to create a brighter future for children across the state, promote free and accessible financial education, and empower folks to close the racial and gender wealth gap, which is why we have conversations like these today to help all of you get to that better economically empowered point in your lives. And these conversations that we have were picked by you, suggested by you. This is all topics that we feel would be a good stepping stone on that journey to hit those three goals. So if you don't get a lot about OEE from that, I will show you this 1-minute video and let me know.
Your financial well-being is our priority. The State Treasurer's Office of Economic Empowerment is here with free financial education to make your tomorrow even brighter. If you live in Massachusetts, you can access no-cost resources and online training, all designed with you in mind. Take it at your own pace or build community and learn with others. We offer help with budgeting, building credit, education and vocational training savings, financial wellness for families and communities, maximizing your money, planning for retirement, and more. Whoever you are, wherever you are in your financial journey, and whatever your money goals may be, we have the tools you need to succeed. Get started on your path toward a healthier financial future. Visit mass.gov/treasury/empowerment to learn more.
Wonderful. So that's just a little bit more about who the Office of Economic Empowerment is and a little bit more about what we offer to folks.
Your financial well-being.
Wonderful. There we go. So I wanted to let you know, as you've noticed, this is not like a Zoom meeting. It's a Zoom webinar. That means this will be recorded. A lot of folks have asked for the link, and don't worry, we'll make sure to send that out afterwards. The recording may be uploaded onto a public website, our YouTube channel, for future use. So you can ask questions in the Q&A function anonymously. Just note that we are a government entity, so the chat record is subject to public record laws and is such not anonymous, but you can in this moment ask anonymous questions, and you can feel to private message us as hosts if there is something you'd like to ask, but is a little bit more sensitive. So as you've noticed, you will not be able to turn on your camera or view the other participants, just the hosts here, as this is a webinar and not a meeting. Like I mentioned, you'll be able to use the Q&A function, and this will be definitely more of a session which focuses on you all. So feel free to talk in the chat and ask questions in the Q&A function. And of course, at the end, we will have time for dedicated Q&A time. And once you hit exit, you'll be able to answer a post survey so we can figure out what you all like best for our next Money Talk Tuesday. So please do review that once you leave. And we do have a Money Talk Tuesday coming up in October on cryptocurrency with the SEC, definitely a hot topic. So feel free to visit our webpage to register for that for free. Again, it will be on Tuesday at 12 p.m. So that'll be October 17th where you can register. If you have any questions, definitely feel free to email us. And I will take this time to introduce Ashley and let everybody come for what they came for here, the financial stress presentation.
Thank you so much, Jessica. I'm very excited to be here and very excited to hear that folks reached out for help and to talk more about this, because money is such a taboo topic still in our culture. And the more that we get out there about it, the more we build a community around it, the more we'll all be able to enhance our well-being. So let me go ahead and share my screen, and apologies if I peek away for just a minute. To make sure that I'm getting you all the best view. Okay, and how's that looking?
We can see your full screen.
Excellent. So thank you so much for coming to Understanding Financial Stress. Again, my name is Ashley Agnew, CFT. You'll see that little insignia there means a certified financial therapist. So I work in a financial advisory firm, but we do therapy-informed financial planning. But before we get into all of that good stuff, I just want to start off, I understand that everybody's coming from a different time in their day, a different time in their lives or situation. So let's just gauge the room and start off with this one. On a scale of cats, how are we feeling today? Are we feeling a little bit like a 2 because some of our coworkers aren't cooperating? A little bit like a 7, like we're ready to have this day done at lunch? I know that I felt like an 8 in traffic this morning. And with this being a Massachusetts webinar, I'm sure that many of us are able to relate to that one. But in all seriousness, just want to appreciate you being here. And I completely understand that life is hectic. Right? On top of life being so busy, many of us have some conflicting views, whether it be professionally, our roles within our household. The number of dual income families has increased over the last 50 years, has doubled. So this shifts perceptions for traditional roles, not only amongst women, but amongst men as well. But 38% of females who supply at least 80% of the family income don't self-identify as providers. So this alone can make money conversations difficult in any coupleship, right? So that's just one statistic, but it shows how it can apply to so many. And that leads to some productivity pressure for families, right? Being pulled in so many directions and a lot of physical side effects. So we can fall victim very easily to shame, sometimes feeling like we're not meeting all of the expectations that we set for ourselves and those that are set culturally. Because of that, it can be hard to identify as financially successful, regardless where we are in the financial journey and regardless of where we are in the financial continuum. So using women as the brief example there, right, that can be really tough. That can be really tough to pull financial circumstances into your identity. So if you feel like financial stress is impacting your overall productivity, you're not alone. You're not alone. Look at the great registration for this webinar today. And that's a great job from Jessica and the office as well. But according to a recent FINRA study, 76% of American workers reported spending at least 3 working hours per week, either distracted by financial worry or addressing financial concerns. So as an employee, as a business owner, looking at the small business atmosphere right now in the state, right, we can see how this impacts along a very large blast radius. So bear with me if I get distracted here, but I know that when I'm on a webinar, I love a nice active chat, and there's a very good chance y'all will learn more from each other than you will from me. So let's get going with a little icebreaker in that side chat here, and go ahead and throw a comment in the chat if you've ever felt like you've been pulled in so many directions that while you're always feeling busy, you feel like things are only getting 85% done. Just that pressure of feeling busy. I know that I can relate to that, right? Sometimes it can feel like go, go, go. So the point being here is, regardless of your situation, it's a lot to manage. It's a lot, and it's all the time. But right now, this is exactly where you're supposed to be. I commend you for putting this session on your calendar and seeing it through to attending, even if you happen to be listening on the recording afterwards. So out of respect for that, let's slow down, take a moment to arrive, and set intention to be present. So I invite you to close your eyes, take 3 deep breaths, exhaling self-doubt, breathing in the confidence to be calm. Get comfortable where you're seated, maybe roll your shoulders, roll your neck. Take another breath, allow the muscles in your forehead to relax. Allow that relaxation to go through your whole body. Imagine a warm glow around just you, keeping you safe in this moment. And know that you're being kind to yourself now, and you deserve this dedicated time. Take a few more breaths, a couple of stretches. And when you feel ready, go ahead and open your eyes to join again. We'll get started. So I've noted a few times that we wear many hats, so it's only fair to share a few of mine. So you'll see on the left-hand side more of my professional role, right? I'm a financial advisor, financial therapist. I serve on a couple of boards. I'm a president-elect, so there's a lot of responsibility there. I'm a volunteer. I'm a Girl Scout troop leader, a serial academic. I'm always nerding out on something new. Right now it's interpersonal neurobiology. I'm a novice gardener, so my thumbs are green, but my gardens aren't gorgeous. And also a mother, a wife, a sister, and a daughter, with those probably being the most impactful for me. But all of these parts of my identity lead to my personal money story and my personal money scripts. So you might hear that in the news quite a bit lately, that idea of money scripts. And what money scripts are those stories in our financial backgrounds that dictate how we act around financial decisions, right? Literally, think of it as a script. This is telling you what to do from the inside out. So we learn these from many different ways. First, there's your family systems and familial financial socialization. That's our first impact, right? That's our first place of learning. So this is the origin for the foundation of all of our long-term money behaviors. Okay, so these have been in formation literally since we're born. And most of our coping skills are actually created by the time we're just 4 years old. So luckily the brain is malleable and very resilient. So as we grow, we have bigger forms of socialization, right? Additional cultural influences, groups of friends, books, we're always learning, right? And a little bit of keeping up with the Joneses, and we've got social media for socialization now too, right? Which can be a little bit scary, but that's a topic for a different talk. And then of course, formal education and the level of financial education received can impact financial decision-making, but there's a much larger emotional side to decision-making when it comes to finances. So instead of thinking of your financial decisions as merely good or bad, try to think of behaviors as communication and coping. So if I could ask you, just take out your pens. We're going to do a little activity here. And it's a form of writing called gateless writing. So what gateless writing is, it's kind of a brain dump a little bit, right? So you're going to go and you're going to write. We're going to do a 4-minute exercise, which sounds long, but I promise you it'll go by in a flash. And you are not writing this for anybody else but yourself. You're not worried about spelling. You're not worried about punctuation. You're not worried about cadence of the story. You're just writing. Okay, and we're going to talk about some money memories here. And if you see my head down, it's because I'll be doing some writing of my own. So what I want you to write about here is, what was the first time you remember thinking about money? And also, how often do you think about money now? So go ahead and write on this. I'm going to set a quick timer for 4 minutes. And what was the first time you remember thinking about money? And how often do you think about money now? We're about halfway through. If it's feeling a little bit like a stream of consciousness on paper, that's perfect. It's exactly what we're looking for. No pressure, just writing. You can start wrapping up some final thoughts as we close out the minute. I know when I first did this personally, I got stuck on that first bullet. What was the first time you remember thinking about money? And I would write something and it was almost like a backwards timeline, because every time I'd write down a phrase or a sentence or a memory, there'd be one right before it. And I didn't realize how far back those money memories went. So let's take just a moment for reflection here. So many of our thoughts surrounding money center around numbers and budgets, with so little time going into the source of our perceptions. So let's take a minute to scan your reflection. What really stands out? And feel free to put this in the chat as well. You know, what was surprising? Were there any repetitive themes? I'd love to see a few words in there if you'd like, but this is a largely personal topic, we understand, but looking for trends, connections, any words that stand out, what might be surprising. A lot of times when I do this, it's with clients and groups and workshops. A lot of themes of guilt, shame, and stress have a strong presence in writing, whether that be personally or what was observed growing up in those families of origin. Right? And money anxiety, what we're talking about today, really starts with financial stress. And you might hear those terms used interchangeably, but what we're talking about with financial stress is persistent worry about finances or a feeling of great unease related to financial matters. So just like to define that there, because it means something different a little bit to everybody. So sometimes this worry can come from feeling insecure about financial behaviors and decisions. So I'm seeing here from the office that the chat function isn't working right now. So I hope nobody thinks that I'm ignoring them. It's just not coming through to me as the host at this moment, but keep it coming. I'm sure that they'll get it up and running in no time, and you can throw some questions in that Q&A as well. I promise that we'll get to you and we'll connect. So again, instead of thinking of your financial decisions as merely good or bad, especially when you're reflecting on these money memories, try to think of communication, try to think of these behaviors as communication and coping. Under this lens, there are truly no illogical decisions when it comes to money. You're simply acting exactly as someone who has gone through your particular set of experiences should be expected to act. Maybe the behavior you despise now actually served you well in the past and helped you write your money script, right? Every behavior serves a purpose, and each behavior exists for a reason. So while you have your pens handy, and I promise there won't be too much work in this presentation, but while you have your pens handy, go ahead and write this down. Forgive yourself for the ways you coped with financial stress when you didn't know what else to turn to. I'm going to read that again and read it here on the screen as well. Forgive yourself for the ways you coped with financial stress when you didn't know what else to turn to. Self-compassion can be empowering. So take note of how you felt when hearing, reading, and writing that last statement. Where did you feel it in your body? So, and I know we don't have the chat up right now, but in the Q&A, feel free to share in the chat how you experienced engaging with that statement and the idea of self-forgiveness.
Ashley, do you mind going back to that statement for a moment for folks
Sure.
to just look back at? And yes, everybody feel free to use the Q&A and we'll make sure to broadcast those answers live in the moment, just like a chat.
Great. Yeah. So here's that statement, which is so great. And I save this for one of my personal mantras too sometimes. So forgive yourself for the ways you coped with financial stress when you didn't know what else to turn to. I know that we've all made some financial decisions that we feel very guilty about, right? That we feel had a trickle down effect for the ones that we love, but know that, it's all about learning and communication. Let me see if I can get the Q&A up here too. Excuse my gaze wandering here across screens. All right. So I see a lot of really great questions here coming on for budgeting, entering college, payment due dates, and we'll get to some of those too in the Q&A after the presentation. Okay, so back to here, right? So just talking about how empowering it can be to be self-compassionate. And notice that I said on the previous slide, what you turn to, not who you turn to. Okay, so thinking about the most present emotions during the money memories that you reflected on earlier in the presentation. So here on this slide are a few common feelings that come up when I do these exercises, right? When we talk about money, what's the first emotion that you think about when you talk about money? Either sad, scared, powerful. But when you look at these emotions or the emotions that you identified with during the exercise, think of other times you have felt this way in situations not involving money. What emotions truly come up when we dig past the glacial terms of sad, scared, powerful? Because you might find that these emotions seem close, but not quite exact to what you're feeling, which is completely natural because we tend to get stuck in these preliminary descriptions, right? And sometimes we can get stuck in a little bit of a rut because we don't give ourselves the luxury of taking a deep dive, especially when we're talking about money, because it's easily avoided with how hectic life is with our everyday lives.
And
But
I can share some of those comments too that folks are saying. Is somebody saying that what comes up for them is stress, their anger, they're scared. And you can definitely pull those from the Q&A, and everybody feel free to put your responses there. And I think it's a good thing that we're utilizing the Q&A for this because you can say something anonymously, especially, and it's a safe space to do so.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And anger. God, thanks for sharing that one. That's so huge, right? Frustration with yourself, frustration with, your partner, frustration with the larger systems, right? That's a real feeling, and it might even go beyond that. And sometimes when you're trying to communicate it or understand it, it might not quite fit until you take a deeper dive. So you might have heard of a therapy modality, name it to tame it, right? We remember it because it rhymes. So it's great. But what that means is that once you understand exactly how you're feeling, it can be easier to address and move towards a more favorable feeling. So from a neurobiology standpoint, naming an emotion literally calms the brain. When you say what you're feeling out loud or in writing, your brain actually relaxes. So if you're going through and writing out bills or organizing it, or, looking at your student loan and not understanding, just putting everything down, taking a breath and saying, I am so confused out loud can actually help you get to the next stage and feeling more financially empowered and less financially stressed. But it can be a little bit nerve-wracking to say that out loud or admit it, right? So shown here is a pretty common tool called the feelings wheel. And you might have seen this before, and it takes that previous slide to the next level because it really does dig in. So I just want to pause and back up a quick moment here and talk about feelings versus emotions. So emotions start as sensations in the body. Feelings are generated from our thoughts about those emotions. But for the sake of this presentation, I'm going to use them pretty interchangeably, right? Because we're not in a psychology course here, and there's no need to get more confused. But yeah, so we'll use emotions and feelings pretty interchangeably. But you'll see I've carved out a small segment surrounding the orange scared. So you can see how a feeling has many layers, right? It's this umbrella. It's this umbrella of being scared, of sad, of angry, right? But sharing truthfully with yourself a statement like, I'm not just scared, but I feel helpless, which makes me feel insignificant. That's much more powerful than just saying, I'm scared, right? And think about how more productive your conversations can be with others around this, with your friends, with your partners, with your bosses, when you're negotiating a salary, right? With really expressing your feelings there. It can really help with the stress. And armed with this knowledge of feelings, you can better assess where your habits fit in to either promoting or discouraging the behaviors that lead to these feelings. So, and I promise you, this all relates to money. So let's take a look at this. You might be familiar with. This is called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So basically what this school of thought says is each layer of the pyramid serves as a foundation to being your best self. But first, you need to start at the bottom layer and work yourself up, right? So first, you have to establish physiological needs, basic life needs, food, water, air, shelter. Then you have to establish safety, security, protection, stability. Then comes love and belongingness, human connection, affection, community, esteem for oneself, status, self-worth, and then self-actualization. So realization of your full potential. So we're all working up this ladder, right? That's what we're all shooting for. But you can see how money and financial skills are peppered all over this sucker, right? So where this came in, we're not hunting and gathering anymore for our safety and for our food. We are purchasing and procuring. So most people identify money as the #1 source of stress in their lives. And most couples cite money arguments as the #1 reason for seeking counseling and divorce. Money arguments have harsher startups, and they last longer than other types of arguments. With so many financial decisions needed to be made daily, decisions that have a direct impact on our psychological needs, it doesn't come as a big surprise, right? Not at all. But still, we can feel really alone when it comes to financial related stress. So why is that? It's hormone release and the innate need to survive. When we need to make a quick financial decision, the same hormones release in our brain that do to prepare us for battle. So think on that for a minute, right? Our brains are getting ready for a fight when we need to make a quick money decision. And I love this simple but impactful drawing. This is Derek Hagan. If you look up his work, and he just simplifies it here, right? You can't have effective problem solving, and that's all financial management is, while you have intense emotions, while you're stressed. And think about what we just said about preparing for battle, and think about what we know about fight, flight, freeze, and faint responses. Doesn't that make a lot more sense with how you handle financial stress and how every one of your financial behaviors serves a purpose for you? So to use the exact words of a top financial therapy researcher in the field, Sonia Luder, people who are stressed are very short-term focused. They don't plan for the future. So if you can reduce stress, you can increase planning. Makes sense. You can also increase your access to mindset tools like empathy and integrated thinking when you're less stressed. And this all just snowballs into feeling more comfortable with your decisions. So knowing what we know now, isn't it clear that there are truly no illogical behaviors and that every behavior serves a purpose? Behaviors are indeed a form of communication. Check in with yourself to see what you're trying to say, do, and achieve with yours. You might be sending yourself the very hidden message you've been looking for to free you of your financial stress. So let's use what we know now about our emotional relationship to finance and talk about how we can add education and financial literacy to the mix to come closer to financial empowerment, right? And I wish that I could do a personalized financial plan, trajectory, cash flow analysis, all of that for all of the 200 plus folks listening in today. Unfortunately, I don't have time for that. We can connect a different time, but let's just take a minute to bring some awareness to some basics, right? So face your finances, force the logic. Financial decisions are made with 10% logic and 90% emotion. Knowing that, you can put the speed bumps in, slow yourself down, and force the logic in, okay? When you can, right? Not all the time, but if we can do it most often, then you're in good shape. So if you have more than 6 months of emergency savings at the bank, and when we say emergency savings, we're saying 6 months of your costs, right? Of your rent, mortgage, utilities, et cetera, et cetera. Should the worst happen, if you lose a job, a spouse, a partner, can you cover yourself for 6 months? That's step one. After that, you want to look at paying down high interest debt, mainly retail credit cards and things of that nature, right? Consumer debt. Then increase your employer plan contribution if it's available to you. What I mean by that are the 401ks, 403bs of the world, or any other outside retirement plans. For many, that's the favorite way to be nice to Uncle Sam and yourself at the same time. You'll want to review your insurance coverage. Again, looking to plan. If something were to happen to you, you don't want financial burden to compile with the grief of your loved ones, right? So review your insurance coverage for life insurance and also short and long-term disability, since you're much more likely to become hurt than you are deceased on any given day. On that note, complete and execute an estate plan, right? So this is healthcare proxy, power of attorney, simple will, right? Get all of those affairs in order. This is important also for college students. So once you hit 18, your parents aren't automatically that person anymore. And we've run into a couple of situations where students have been hurt on campus. Parents can't help. They can't access funds. They can't move anything around. So that's a big important one in estate plan. A little morbid to think about, but it also covers items during your lifetime, like that durable power of attorney and healthcare proxy. If you have all of those items in place, that's when you want to consider a diversified, liquid, taxable investment account. And I bring this up because one of the most common questions when I do a larger presentation is, and for some reason, this is the magic number, is if I have $10,000, what should I do with it? I don't know why 10,000 always comes up. It just happens to be it. And if you haven't checked off the first bullets on this, then I'm not going to say that you should get into any kind of market and put that money at risk. So first things first there. And what we're all looking for to reduce our financial stress at the end of any presentation is actionable takeaways, right? So what can you do to make a difference right now? When you've eaten your lunch and processed, rest and digest, what can you do to make a difference to reduce your financial stress immediately today, right? So the first recommendation is have a go-to mindfulness activity, right? This is going to help you handle those moments of overwhelm, because as we've learned, you can't operate financial decisions under intense stress, right? And when you have those big, big emotions. So how do we calm that down? One of my favorite exercises you may have heard is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I like it because it's easy to remember, right? So that's when you sit in a place, you're by yourself, you can do this anywhere, and you truly observe 5 things you can see down to the detail, right? Not just computer, lamp, window. You're saying, I'm seeing the computer and it has a beautiful picture in the background of my family, and that really brings me joy. I'm seeing the leaves change. It's reminding me of the change, things like that, right? You're really giving yourself time to observe. Then you go down to 4 things you can hear, 3 things you can feel, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. And that helps to integrate your brain, right? So that helps you from having the big emotions take over without having that limbic system go crazy, and it kind of helps you reconnect with yourself. The second is gateless writing, what we did today, right? Have a couple of journal prompts, use those prompts and just write, just get your thoughts on paper, knowing that you're doing that for yourself. Nobody else has to read it, but you're going to name it to tame it, right? You're acknowledging your feelings. And sometimes we're so stuck on looking at outside validation that we forget how much we need to recognize it within ourselves. Next is a needs inventory, which I am going to try to get this into the Q&A. So the needs and feelings inventory comes from the idea of nonviolent communication. And just as the feelings wheel took a deeper dive into feelings and emotions, the needs inventory takes a deeper dive into what you need. And naming that can be powerful too, because maybe it's not more money that you need, right? Maybe it's not a higher salary that you need. Maybe you need acknowledgement. Maybe you need connection. Maybe you need community. And looking at those things and using that as a tool for conversations within your relationships and family systems can be wildly powerful. So we're going to try to distribute that out to you with the recording as well. And then lastly, in this box is lean on a positive mantra. Words are powerful. Habits and rituals are powerful. So money mantras are positive affirmations, something that you keep in your pocket, right? So that when times get tough, when you're feeling overwhelmed, when you're feeling stressed, you can lean on that and know it's going to be okay with some repetition. Some examples include, I am in control of my decisions. Money does not make decisions, I do. I am great at so many things. I do not have to be perfect at everything. And then my personal one, which I keep on a card actually right on my desk, is I know that my purpose is far greater than working and paying my bills. I am more than my career. So find something that resonates with you, write it down, keep it somewhere and lean on that. We're going to transition to that middle box is have a safe plan. And this is to set a blueprint with your intentions for your personal finance, right? So we say SAFE because it's an acronym, again, easy to remember, SAFE. So it starts with speak your truth, right? What's really going on in your financial picture? Be honest, be vulnerable, right? Because once you get it out there, then you can address the stress. Agree to a plan and follow the plan. Yes, those are two different bullet points, right? Joining the gym and going to the gym are two different things. That's my favorite analogy when it comes to this. Just because you have the keychain isn't going to make you physically fit. Just like if you have a financial plan or a budget, it's not going to make you financially fit. And establish an emergency response, right? And maybe that's one of your mindfulness exercises, right? There's in any religion, in any culture, there's some rendition of you plan, God laughs. Something is going to happen. Things come up and it's okay. Knowing how you'll respond to it makes it a little bit easier to react and be proactive, honestly, right? So that you're not caught in a downward spiral for longer. Lastly, have an accountability partner. Ask for help. It's there, right? Look at this webinar right now. Who would have thought the state treasurer's office would be talking about financial stress instead of budgets? That's how important it is, right? That's how much of a need there's out there. And there's a whole field budding around it, which is fantastic. There are financial therapists, financial planners and advisors, certified financial coaches. And I say certified because there's a lot of coaches out there who might specialize in something else. Trusted friends and family members might be that person, right? You might have a friend who's not going to yes you to death and have it all through rose-colored glasses, but they'll be honest with you. And if you say, you know what, I really want to save $200 a week or a month, right? And they'll check in with you and be honest for that. Maybe it's a combination of all of the above. But these are all things, most of them without any cost at all, that you can do right now to feel less financial stress. You might not be ready to talk to somebody about it, right? You're still learning more about how this even impacts your life, right? Of how your money story is even building and you're just learning about money scripts. So you want to dive in a little bit on your own. So above the line, I have some great apps. I know in the question, in the Q&A box, there were some questions about this. So Money Habitudes really helps identify, excuse me, helps identify your relationship with money and how you tend to react and what tools will work best for you. Almost how you might have had learning style assessments, this money habitudes is your money style assessment. So you can Google that and find it. Chronify is a wonderful budgeting tool for those who like visuals and for those who are counting down the days to retirement, even if you're in your 20s, right? Well, I'm not in my 20s, I'm counting down the days to retirement. But what it does is it allows you to model in real time what the different trade-offs, how the different trade-offs impact your days to retirement. So if I go on a vacation for $2,000, how many less days is that until retirement, right? So it's a really visual, good data in, good data out. I really like Chronify a lot, and it was built with a lot of heart. You Need a Budget is excellent as well. We always say great app, terrible name. Just the word budget in itself is a little in your face, but it really is a good tool. And what that does is it helps compartmentalize into buckets your savings and your intentions for your money. So You Need a Budget is beautiful for transparency, for goal setting and getting organized. And the last app is Insight Timer. So Insight Timer is not a financial tool on its surface. It's a mindfulness app with a lot of free meditations, both guided, beginner, intermediate, advanced. But again, having a mindfulness tool and a way to slow down and eliminate the stress, that truly is part of financial management and reducing financial stress. Below the line, you'll see 4 books that I love and should be on everybody's bookshelf. Mind Over Money is a great one that, discusses how our money scripts actually go back generations, right? So we talk about our family of origin, our parents, the caregivers who raised us. It's not just their story, right? It's the stories that came before them. And it's really reflective and really great. If you're looking to learn more about the investing world, right, and how your financial stress impacts that, the book Loaded by Sarah Newcomb is a great read. Healthy Love and Money is a beautiful book that shares stories and the attachment theory behind your relationship with money, and is a great book if you're looking to go through this journey with a partner, okay, with somebody that you're in an intimate relationship with, because there's journal prompts for you both there. And The Whole Brain Child, again, along the lines with Insight Timer, is not a financial book at its surface, but whether you're a parent or not, even though it's framed as more of a parenting book, what this short read teaches you about how the brain works and our reward systems directly relates to how we handle stress and financial stress. So I always like to throw that one in there as well. And of course, the Office of Economic Empowerment, right? You'll be getting, if you're on the newsletter list, on the email list, you'll see that they're launching an excellent Worth and Wealth series. The My Financial Life Mass website, you can build your own financial education curriculum. Again, you need that 10% to be really strong. It's all you've got for the logic, right? So you want to make sure you can maximize that. And of course, the Office of Economic Empowerment newsletter. So in summary, I know that I talk fast and I go through a lot. So even though I hate to read right off a slide, I'm going to do it for you anyway. So combining understanding, awareness, and education can help transform financial anxiety into financial empowerment. Financial skills are now truly survival skills, but our relationship with wealth and money is more important than the size of our bank accounts. A strong emotional foundation surrounding our financial behavior sets the stage for better decision-making, an abundance mindset, and overall positive well-being, ultimately allowing our personal finances to thrive. So I know we weren't able to connect too much on the chat, but I hope that you'll connect with me outside of this. This is truly something that I'm passionate about. I was so glad to connect with the folks at the Office of Economic Empowerment. My firm is Centerpoint Advisors. We're based just outside of Boston, and I'm also president-elect of the FTA, a national organization for financial therapists. So if I don't know the answer, I know somebody who does, no matter what your financial problem is. Please do feel free to reach out. And just in closing, thank you. And I hope that this is the cat you feel most like after this presentation. I hope you feel empowered and self-compassionate and kind to yourself and ready to set a beautiful intention for the rest of your day. So I am going to stop my share here and take a look at some of these questions. And Jessica, was there anything that I should address for you before I hop in here?
There's just been a few folks asking specific questions, asking for slides and things of that nature, but folks go on ahead and put your questions in the Q&A. And we'll go ahead and get to those. Sorry again about the chat, but again, the Q&A, we made sure to answer live all of the questions so that way, folks, it would be like you were sharing anyways.
Hey, all right. So let's see, we've got basic website for budgeting here. So I would say that Chronify or You Need a Budget would be great, easy to use. And, you know, sometimes your banking app, your online banking might be able to help with that. It's going to be pretty glacial. So I like Chronify and You Need a Budget. We like those. I have a senior entering college. Congratulations. That's great. Anything I need to do ASAP. I'm in the midst of all of it. Single mom. Good job, mom. So the FAFSA form, right, should become available next month. I believe it might have been delayed, but the FAFSA forms, you know, the number one, and don't lose your PIN. So you can do everything online, which is great. I remember back in the day filling out the paper, you know, the paper form and all the tax information. You can actually link your tax information to it to pull right from the IRS website. So it should be easier. And I would say make your student go through this process with you and do as much as they can on their own. Okay, there are very few rites of passage now for American youth, believe it or not, right? We all want life to be easier for our kids, but there needs to be a little bit of skin in the game. So take a look at that. Take a look to really understand the loans available and what that means. So what does subsidized versus unsubsidized mean? Which ones can I pay on while they're in school to my benefit, and which one should I hold off on? When you go onto these websites, it's going to say zero balance, zero balance. I'm telling you, if you can even put $100 a month towards these loans before they start accruing interest, it's going to help. But just really understanding that. And I believe that on that link in the chat, the myfinanciallifema.org, there are some resources there too. All right, let's see. Not part of education school level. Okay, I grew up with gamblers and thieves. What purpose do those behaviors serve? And thank you for this webinar. Thank you. Thank you for joining. So gamblers and thieves, what purpose do these behaviors serve? Security, right? So perhaps, and I don't know the full story. We'd have to go through and do a whole exercise called a genogram here, but something tells me that there was some scarcity around those people in their lives, right? Where they were trying to secure and maybe didn't have the feeling that they could count on their caretakers so much during every part of their lives to provide them with the things they needed on that hierarchy of needs. So depending on how you perceive that while you were growing up, right? Think about how that influenced your own money story. It might impact your trust within your new family systems, within, you know, coworkers and those that come into your inner social circles. But I promise you it came from somewhere. Let's see. Do you have a resource to recommend for serious credit card debt? Let's see. I believe that we have that through the Office of Economic Empowerment as well. It looks like Jack's going to answer that for us. Is the picture of emotions available? If not, the entire slideshow? Yep. So the slideshow is going to go out. Let's see. My daughter just graduated. I like this one. That my daughter just graduated and has all these loans. Is it better to consolidate or just leave them? Lori, thank you so much for bringing this up, because what a lot of students don't realize is they're not just signing up for one loan. They're in what's called tranches, right? So what might look like one loan on an acceptance click is actually 3. So what you want to consider with consolidation is you really only want to consolidate if you're consolidating to a lower interest rate or a like interest rate. And you want to be careful if you're consolidating outside of any federal programs, because, for example, say if you consolidate with a local bank, now they might be foregoing options for deferment, income-based retirement, income-based payment plans, and things of that nature. So you just want to be really careful. The interest rates are going to be what drives that, but lay it all out on the table, right? Like get a nice spreadsheet together or a notebook if you're not big on Excel or things like that, and make sure that you have those tranches outlined. Okay, I work as a youth success and engagement counselor. How would you recommend addressing financial stress for youth? This is great, right? Because kids are smart. Kids are really smart and they pick up more than you would even ever know. I run a program for parents on how to teach kids about money without using any numbers, because we get a lot of parents that come and say, I'm so nervous. I'm so bad with money. How can I ever be expected to teach my kids about money? But being good with money is about other things. It's about being accountable, reliable, organized, right? Those things. So teaching those skills to kids translates directly in how they deal with finance. With stress, for financial stress surrounding youth, giving them a platform to be heard, right? And to ask the questions they don't know about. We don't like uncertainty. We don't like uncertainty as humans. If we see this shape, our brains aren't going to see it for long because they're going to close that circle. So just giving kids the platform is huge. I mean, the other day I was having a conversation with my husband about the mortgage, just a general conversation. And my 6-year-old whips around the corner and says, the mortgage, that's the house. Is the house going to be okay? I was like, wow, what messages is she getting here, right? Like, let's sit down and talk. I wouldn't even think that she would know that word, but kids are absorbent, right? So I love that you're working with that. And if you see my information, I'd love to hear more about the program and how I can help and support that further. But that's definitely could take up a whole hour on that one. And I love that you're addressing it. So again, with the student loan resources, I'm getting married. Any advice on money conversations? Yes, have lots of them before you're married. I do premarital financial counseling quite a bit. And oftentimes the only time you talk about money is, when you're with your financial advisor or when something bad comes up. You want to avoid that. And I have a whole set of questions that I can see if I can send along with the presentation materials that are good conversation starters. And congratulations on getting married. I would highly recommend the Healthy Love and Money book. It is not an I'm broken, let's fix us book, right? It's a collaborative. It'll definitely bring you closer. It's not a big read, but I think that you'll really enjoy it. I'd highly recommend that, the Healthy Love and Money book. And I think that we're coming up a little bit on time here. Let's see if I can get anything that will address not part of any school level. Oh, let's see. Monique, it looks like you have some questions about inheritance, right? And I don't know if that is managing stress through inherited funds or inheriting the skills here. It's not part of education in school on a level how to manage everyday lives or other ways to obtain it through inheritance. But I'm happy to, if you want to reach out to me to discuss that a little bit further. Okay, and how you connect with me, actually, you know what, why don't I share that slide one more time that has my contact information on it for you. Okay, and Jessica, are you seeing the slide with my contact info?
Yes, we are. And we'll
Okay,
make sure
great.
to send that out to everybody as well with a follow-up email if you prefer, Ashley, as well.
Excellent. Yeah, so this is part of all of the slides, and I'm so glad that everybody was able to join today. And yeah, I think that this is absolutely great. I think that we're just coming up on time. We've got one more. Sorry, you can tell I nerd out on this stuff. So I'm excited anytime a new question comes in. Our agency works with housing needs and have been seeing an uptick in homelessness and housing insecurity. Yeah, everywhere across the state, across the country. How do you recommend navigating housing cost while experiencing immediate insecurity? So yeah, that's hard because again, we're looking at this hierarchy of needs, and the financial skills are survival skills. And without the money to procure your needs, right, to procure your housing, it's really hard to say, well, just do a mindfulness exercise and everything's going to be okay, right? Because that's not it. It's just navigating the other spokes of your life, right? And making sure that that's not a big domino effect, because you have to know what resources you have, like the Office of Economic Empowerment, right? Like agencies such as yourselves, but talking about the insecurity and that, yeah, it's okay to feel insecure. This is a really scary thing right now. Here's what we can do. Here's what we can't do. Let's look at the other aspects of your lives that are domino affecting into this to make sure we can make as many of those stand up as possible for you. right? Not everything's going to be fixed, and that's the challenge too, right? And I never want to put across that anything is a deep breath away from perfection, because that's not it. That's not it at all, but we're all in it together, and we all have our times of stress, but knowing how to navigate it a little bit better and, to cut down. I would say, you look at a toddler, right? Toddlers have tantrums because they don't have skills in words. We all still want to have them. We all still want to have them. So as much as we can cut those down or shorten them up, then we'll be okay. But thank you so much for your kind words too. So I'm going to go ahead and end here. Again, reach out to me. I hope that you're all feeling great and rejuvenated for the rest of your day. Thank you for spending your lunch time with me, one of the 3 most important parts of the day. And just thank you so much. I'll let Jessica wrap up here.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ashley, for this amazing presentation. Again, thank you all for adapting and using the Q&A. Seems like one of the skills that we've learned here today in action already, adjusting to hard situations. Again, we do have another session on cryptocurrency coming up in October, so feel free to register for that. And as we were saying, all of the information shared here today will go out in a follow-up email, so feel free to keep an eye out for that and ask us any questions if you need them. But otherwise, thank you everybody so much for coming. Thank you so much, Ashley, for this amazing presentation. It definitely helped me out a lot. And we look forward to seeing you and working with you in the future.
Thank you so much.
Okay, everybody, have a great day.